And now joining us on the TravelPulse podcast, lovely guests of the TravelSmiths, Paul and Sally Jane. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Eric.
I'm excited.
Hey, well, thanks for joining us again today. We were just talking about on our separate segment here that our most read article of the past week was one authored by Paul Smith himself. So, and it was all about the trip that you guys went on to, and that's what we want to talk to you about today. So thank you again for joining. You guys, for anybody who missed the earlier part of the segment where I was talking about it, hyping you guys up, you guys just came back from a week-long trip in Mexico. You saw 13 different sites in 7 days. So tell us a little bit, like, what was it like just traveling internationally, new different things people should be aware of going into Mexico, flying, anything, let us know.
Well, we flew out of Philadelphia, and
Because there's nothing going out of New York.
Yeah, we're from the Northeast, so New York and JFK, it's a little difficult to get in and out of there. But we went out of Philadelphia. It was a nonstop flight, and they had, 4 first-class seats and 43 people on the plane. But it was very easy to go navigate.
737.
Yeah, it was huge. But now I heard that they're packing them up, getting a little bit more people on. But in Philadelphia Airport, TSA was easy. Everything was clean. They are requesting that you, throughout the airport, to wear masks. They had, we went on the plane, you have to wear a mask. That's the rules of the plane at this time. If you don't, then,
Unless you're eating and drinking.
But we got to the gate. We had plenty of time. But first, we started with the parking spot. We made a reservation. You couldn't do valet, and they had everything sanitized and whatever. And you parked your car. It was really very seamless. It was.
Yeah, really simple.
Mm-hmm. And then we got to the gate and hung out forever, because of course we were early. And we got on the plane.
And we only had carry-ons too.
Yeah. But they didn't take our temperature getting on the flight, but they did ask required questions, and then they allowed us on, and the flight attendant gave us those nice little bags.
Little bag, bottle of waters, bag of pretzels, and a hand sanitizer.
Of course, yes.
Oh, that's nice.
And they, you know what the flight attendant did? She did separate if there was people, kind of clustered together, because row 18, 19, and 20 were all like a bunch of people, so she separated us all. 43 people was all we had coming down. But more important, when we got to Mexico, they gave us paperwork before that, and it was different because it was asking, have you been sick? Have you traveled anywhere? They asked, about temperatures and things like that. So Paul filled all that information out. And
you handed it into customs.
And when we came through, there wasn't a lot, obviously, on our plane. Immigration.
Right.
So we went through, they had the plastic up now, and everybody was in masks in Mexico. We rolled right through. They actually took us because it wasn't busy, right? Wait, before we hit that, we hit the...
Well, then they do the temperature scanner.
Right.
As you're walking through the airport over by where the...
in between.
And they brought us in Terminal 4 into the international.
Right, the international.
Because they only have one terminal open there that we saw.
Right now. But the temperature, the guy was head to toe, mask, plastic, and like a jumpsuit. Like a jumpsuit.
Full Tyvek suit.
Yeah. And but if anybody had a fever, they were going to pull them right out. But then they brought us over, and they checked everybody and brought them through and asked the questions again. What do you ask us about?
Yeah, so there's so few people going through right now, so they can test or check a greater percentage of people. So they basically asked us if we had tobacco or alcohol with us, and we're like, no, catch us on the way out. We'll have some tequila, but that's besides the point. So we got through, walked through, found our guys from Lomas, and they were right there. It was
with the mask and the covering on. Of course, had their signs out there. There was other companies out there too as well, but they were so thrilled that they were having Americans come back down to Mexico. But it was an easy process, and you could feel confident in traveling there, which is really important, because that's what what they're nervous about is the unknown, right? And that's the reason why Paul and I said, we're going down, because we need our clients to feel confident to travel and they know what to anticipate. So hence why we hopped in, of course, our Lomas transfer, which was a Lincoln Navigator. And of course, you know, they had the sanitizer, and Raul was our driver. Everybody had the masks on. We saw Pablo. You know, we did our elbow hugs, you know, what you're allowed to do now, but which is fine. And people, because you know what, the rules of the governor, you know, there's 34 states in Mexico, and the president wasn't opening anything, but the governor proved to the president that Quintana Roo state was all in alignment. So there was hotels, there was a couple hotels that were open constantly. There was only 2 that I know about that were open that never closed, but they transformed their world. But
Fives in Maroma.
Fives in El Dorado, Maroma. And then, but what happened was the governor presented his case to the president, and the president said, okay, 30% maximum occupancy at the hotels. They weren't doing excursions, but they just opened them up.
They opened up Maroma Adventures.
Yep, they opened that up on June 16th or 15th.
That Monday while we were down there.
And they are allowed 50% occupancy on the catamarans or when they're doing different excursions. So they're limited, but they're starting to open up and flourish. And the governor pleaded his case, and he got it open, which was phenomenal. And everybody to the T, every resort did a phenomenal job. We started with, as we scooted over on our Lomas transfer.
The Moon Grand.
Yep, the Grand at the Moon Palace, which Adriana was there and her whole entire team. I don't know if you followed us on Facebook, but you know, they had the little pads out there to clean off your feet. They spray down your luggage. You know, the hand sanitizer is everywhere.
Temperature checks everywhere.
Everywhere.
You don't get on the property. Even the drivers at some of the place had to get their temperature checked.
Yeah.
Wow. That was gonna be one of my next questions. With all these different sites and the hotels and stuff that you were looking at, what was actually required? You started going in with scraping off your feet, having the temperature checks, hand sanitizers, stuff like that. Did any other, like, was there any test requirements, like negative test requirements, mask stuff?
There is not. What they do have is they have a form that you need to fill out at each one of the resorts. They all have their own different form, but they're asking you where you have traveled to, what have you had any temperature, have you been ill, have you been in contact with anybody that had COVID or whatever. Everybody had their list, and the resorts are having you sign off on a disclaimer, which I totally understand, because if you're healthy when you're going in, and when you're leaving the country, they're having you, which we'll talk about, that QR code that's really important. That when we were on Facebook, people were like, oh my gosh, what is that QR code? What is that? Which we'll talk about. But they're having people be, you know, they have to take ownership, because if you're sick, you shouldn't be traveling. If you're compromised or you are, you know, or you're afraid to travel, then don't, right? But if you're healthy, you should be allowed to travel, even though we're at a level 4. Actually, Mexico's down to a level 2.
Right.
And it says
U.S. is still in trouble.
Well, U.S. is still level 4 for travel advisory, but the airports are open. The borders on land borders, and that something came up in the news that they said Mexico's closed, and it's not closed. It's the borders that are closed that you're driving through, Canada and Mexico. But for flying, they're open. Mexico never closed their borders, and the United States kept letting these flights fly back and forth. So people are traveling. Our job as travel advisors is to give you and educate the clients as much as they can, give them all what's going on especially in Mexico, you know, what the Board of Tourism is advising for the clients to do, you know, and our job is to make sure that they know up to date before they travel, which is important, right?
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. It's a completely new experience right now with Mexico, with travel, just in general. Everything you hear, the new normal is the key term a lot. So what are some other things that advisors needs to know about booking the Cancun and Quintana Roo region right now? Any specifics about the properties that you should go in more detail about that you experienced?
Well, the properties that we went to 13 different properties. We did two hard hat properties. We stayed at 3 properties when we were down there. We stayed at the El Dorado Maroma, which, you know, I love it. And the beach
never
was
closed.
Stunning. It never closed. There were some New Yorkers there and some Canadians that said they weren't leaving. and the borders closed in Canada, so they couldn't leave. But they adhered to the protocol of no restaurants open. They did everything that they were properly supposed to do. And I think it was, 6 rooms or 4 rooms or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. But they did a phenomenal job of transforming, even though everybody, I believe that the properties that we went to, everybody had high quality standards to begin with. It's just taken it to a whole nother level. And everybody's got their own name. Like the Grand at the Moon has Purely Palace. So they sanitize the room, or they clean the room, and then they sanitize it. They do with the sprays, and there's a lot. We did have a lot of video, and I felt that maybe we should have did more video of everybody how they clean. But they actually put a sticker on the door and
To seal it.
To seal it.
And same thing with the refrigerators.
Yep, which was great. So they still have room service. All the restaurants except for Unico, because Unico has an app already that they have all the restaurant menus right on their app.
Yep.
And I believe Palace has that too as well. But a lot of them had the QR, like you go up to the menu, you take open your picture, your phone, and up pops the menu on your phone. So you have that choice. Palace has that too as well.
Right.
And if people, Maroma, the Fives, they all had it, which was great because if people didn't want to touch, and they did have menus that you could touch, and some were paper that they would throw away.
Right, single use.
Yep, single use. And some had the laminated that they would actually re-clean with 4 different, disinfectants.
It's interesting when you sit down, on a lounge chair, 5 minutes after you're up, there's someone right behind you cleaning and sanitizing everything, everywhere you sit, touch. That I found to be, the place just so spotless.
Yeah, now's the time. If you're gonna go,
If you're gonna go,
now's the time to go.
now's the time to go. And the price is right. Oh my God.
And that's what we were saying too with everything, is that you're going to find things in travel to be cleaner than they ever have been before. If you want to see the things that have the most highest cleaning standards, right now would probably be the best time to see that. And now, Paul, you texted me a photo from your stay at the El Dorado. Now, what else do you think about that property? What were your favorite parts of that property, from even from the view of where you're staying at, but everything else included?
So, I mean, look, the El Dorado Maroma is probably, it's on one of the top 10 beaches in the world. It's first thing, it's spectacular. Food's fantastic. Their whole GIVC concept is gourmet inclusive, right? So the food was excellent. The rooms were spotless. We actually stayed in a 1-bedroom presidential beachfront villa with our own private plunge pool. And we were right across from the Palafitos, the overwater bungalows, which, look fantastic. They have a private island out there. But what they've also done, because the sargassum has been, the seaweed has been, pretty bad down in Mexico over the course of the last couple of years. What El Dorado and some of the other properties have done is that they've made literally a fence, out in the water to hold all the seaweed back, so that when you're swimming, you don't have stuff around your legs. The beach at Maroma couldn't be better. So Sally and I went out in the morning for a walk, and we walked all the way up to the Belmont?
The Belmont, yeah.
Which is like 2 miles each way. And there's nothing like that beach at El Dorado Maroma.
Which it is. That whole Maroma area is fantastic. And the properties weren't open yet up there.
Right.
Except for one. One was open at Catalonia, I think. But we were just walking by it. We didn't go in it. They were actually starting to clean up their beach. And I saw Secrets Maroma was starting to clean up their beach, because they're opening July 15th. So that was, or 14th, I think it was. But the beach at El Dorado Maroma is magnificent for sure. But that border is fantastic. I saw that the Grand at the Moon has now just put that up too as well.
So they've actually got a beach now.
Yeah, their beach actually looks really good. I was very happy to see that. What was interesting is that each resort was a little different in how they handled things. Like the Grand at the Moon is the only one open right now, and what they're doing is that anybody for arrivals that were in beach or at the Sun or over at the Moon, they were actually coming, and they were bringing them just to the Grand, which was lovely. But the swim up pool bars were not open. They had extra staff on to bring you cocktails, and Unico did the same thing. They did not have the swim bars open, but Maroma did, the Fives did, but they didn't have, there wasn't a lot of people in. Like I said, it's 30% max occupancy right now. So there's plenty of room. There's no fighting for chairs or whatever, but they separated the chairs and a set, and then there's 6 feet and then another set. So everybody's got either the wall up, the plastic wall up, divider, or the team, because we were at Barcelo. We went to Barcelo Maya Palace. We went over to now Sapphire, and they actually had a heat monitor. Instead of taking it like the temperature out here, you stood up to the like they have at the airport, an icon, and you could see your picture in a computer, and it says what your temperature is. So there's no lying. There's your temperature, and it's good. So
and also the Mexican government is tracking all the guests that are coming in and coming out. So they're doing a little contract tracing also.
Okay. Well, that's great. That's great hearing all the different things that they're putting into place, different technology being used, everything like that. And when it comes to actually advisors booking Mexico, Cancun, Riviera Maya, the whole Quintana Roo region, is there any deals that you've heard about there, or incentivizations that different properties are doing for travel advisors, or like where do you think is really good for advisors to book right now?
Well, they're all running specials, but we looked
2 for 1 at Palace.
Yeah, Palace had a 2 for 1, but I think that ends today. But they, Margaritaville Island Reserve, which is an all-inclusive Riviera Cancun. That was the old Azul Beach. That looks cool.
It looks spectacular.
Right, and if you're a Parrot Head and Jimmy Buffett, they have to play like every 5 songs. It has to be a Jimmy
Buffett song.
Yeah. So the rooms look cool. They have a whole new concept. It's different than other all-inclusives. They have a bicycle that you can either blend your smoothie or your margarita, which was like, we did enjoy a little lunch there, which was delicious as usual.
It was great. Yeah.
But they're running specials. I know the Fives Beach Hotel and Residence is running a phenomenal promo right now. I know that. They also we went down and we did dinner at the the Fives downtown. That was
Playa del
cool.
Carmen. What a cool spot. It's the first time we ever saw it. Had a fantastic dinner there. They've got this cool rooftop pool that goes all on the edge, and you can look at downtown Playa del Carmen. You're 2 blocks from the beach. You're 2 blocks from Cocobongo.
They have a beach club, and you could do an all-inclusive or your European plan. But honestly, it's for people that want to be in the heart of Playa del Carmen and be right in the action.
And want that real downtown experience. Very cool.
Really reasonable. And
really reasonable.
It was phenomenal. And
they've got that garden on the inside. So the whole inside is kind of open, and they've got this vertical garden that goes all the way. It
like
looks
4 stories. It's cool.
It's just
with these fire pits in there. So it's young, millennial, sexy, cool. The rooms are ridiculous.
Marley's Coffee.
But and Marley's Coffee, yeah. That's the first spot that they had, the Marley's Coffee, yeah. Wow. Have you been?
No, but we've written a few things about that property. So I've been seeing images about like that rooftop pool is unbeatable. So I can't wait to experience it one day. But TravelPulse has covered that place numerous times because of that rooftop pool is definitely a huge takeaway. So just in terms of booking international travel, and advisors listening right now who have clients are asking them all sorts of questions about health and safety and all that stuff. So what are some of the most important and actionable tips that you could provide to advisors right now?
All right.
Well, I would say stay in touch with your clients, right? Reach out to them. I think that's really, really important. Let them know what's going on. Listen, everyone's got a lot more free time right now. Reach out, touch your clients, let them know. Listen and tell them, hey, Mexico's open, and kind of also take their temperature as far as how they feel about travel.
Because
and listen,
they might not be ready now, but they might be ready for the fall or next year. But,
well, some people have cabin fever and they just want to get the hell out.
I agree.
I heard that.
But there's some phenomenal pricing. You have to do your homework for sure. I have to tell you, because we are a signature agency, and our preferred tour operators for land is, Travel Impressions, Classic Vacations, and Pleasant Holidays. And the rates and the promos that they are running right now are phenomenal. But you got to dive in. You got to look. You have to do your homework to figure it out. But the properties that we went to all are spot on. They all are their protocols are right there. And where we went, and I'll just name them off to you: the Grand at the Moon, we stayed at the Eldorado Maroma, Unico, the Fives Beach Hotel and Residence. We went down to the Fives Downtown Hotel and Residence. Oh, by the way, the Fives Oceanfront Puerto Morales is doing a grand opening on July 24th, which we should be there. I'm pretty excited. We saw Barcelo Maya Palace. Now, all of these properties that I'm talking about, the protocols are there. You can feel confident to send your clients there. We saw Eldorado Seaside Suites.
Hidden Beach.
We went over to Hidden Beach.
Hidden Beach. Actually got pictures inside Hidden Beach, which is
wow.
You know that doesn't happen.
No.
You were able to make it happen. I wouldn't expect anybody else.
Yeah, we realized that the only place that you have to wear clothing in there is in the gym.
Right. And you know what? When you stay at Seaside Suites, you would never know that Hidden Beach is nestled right in there.
It's just like
43 suites. It's really actually adorable. But I was excited to see that. And then we toured now Sapphire Resort, and I have to tell you what they brought there is it's called the Villa Del Mar area. It's all the way on the south side of the property. They just put up this pergola and made this beautiful entrance to overlook the ocean for a destination wedding. And they made this glassed in, so it's full glass on the front, so you can be air conditioned in the banquet hall area. Yeah. And you could overlook the ocean and still not be sweaty, right? So, and they have all these swim out beachfront rooms now. So if you book six preferred rooms in this area, so whether you're in the ocean view swim out or the ocean view only, if you take 6 in your group, they'll give you the Villa Del Mar pergola and banquet reception area complimentary. Huge. That's huge for destination weddings. Yeah, I know. So, and they have a Catholic church that they just put on board. It's an open air Catholic church that is built inside the gardens. That's beautiful. They just added a water park there. So they've done a lot of work. They've done a lot of work at Now Sapphire, and the rooms are all redone over. She really looks pretty. And they've got that whole protocol going on. Everybody's got the protocol going. And then we went up to Margaritaville. We did the hard hat, like I said, at the Fives Oceanfront, Puerto Morales. And we did a hard hat over at Nickelodeon. As I would say, April, sometime in 2021. I don't know exactly when, but 2021.
Nickelodeon is going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, it's going to be
that water park's going to be ridiculous.
I know.
They've started putting it up. You can see it from the highway.
And we have some destination weddings going to Generations and Eldorado Maroma in the fall, but Generations in July. At the end of July, we have a bride and groom going down. So, and they're at the Casitas and the Royale. So we went over because the Generations had just opened up, and we did a nice tour there. She's of course looking beautiful. And I want to go back down right before the bride gets there because I want to see the Royale and the Casita. I feel more comfortable when I see things, especially for what's going on right now. And I urge every travel advisor, if you've got it, the prices are right for flights, they're inexpensive, go down and check out your properties. When we go back down in the end of July, we will be scouting out another probably 6 or 8. We're only going to be there 3 nights. So I'm going to squeeze in.
By the way, it's a slow trip for Sally.
You gotta fit in what you can. So nothing beats that firsthand experience for sure, and being able to sell that along. So just for anything you want suppliers that might be listening right now to hear from a travel advisor perspective,
I want them to keep up those promos, keep going to those resorts and getting those deals, whether it's a free night, giving us upgrades, time sensitive, whatever, buy one, get one free. I don't care. Just keep them coming because we appreciate that. When our
clients do too.
Well, our clients definitely do that. But you know what? because we're the travel advisors. We're the experts. People come to us. Anybody can book online, but they don't know what they're purchasing. We do. And that's so important. So we appreciate our suppliers.
And that's one of the main reasons why we go down there too. Dan, much like when you and I were in the DR, you know, we wanted to see the properties, wanted to go, you know, and check everything out before, you know, we actually have our clients go down there and feel, touch, eat, you know, and enjoy the properties, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's what we've heard from advisors too, is that they want to go out and do these experiences now to be, like Sally, you were saying earlier, be there and getting that experience, knowing what to expect, seeing how things are operating. That way they can bring that back to their clients and be able to say, I have this experience, I saw this, this, and this in place. So having all of that is really good, and having the support from the suppliers makes it all happen. So
Huge. That's huge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well,
Like
thank you. Well, I was going to say, you guys want to, you know, put in any final?
I want to say, yeah, I do, because I'm going to send to you, Dan. There's a thing. It's a QR code, and this is really important.
Very important.
Because we have a travel app, so we can download it for our clients. And when you're leaving Mexico, you know,
in the airport,
right before you're going through TSA, there's no papers or pens to fill out any kind of paperwork. Now, some of the resorts are giving you that when you're departing, but if you don't get it, or if you don't ask, because people don't really know, but we had gotten paperwork on it, and I had asked at other resorts if they were doing the ones I went to. Yes, they are. But the whole thing is that it's a QR code, it's a scan. And what happens is that you have to fill it out, what flight you're going to be on, you know, and answer all these questions of, do you have a fever, and all of them. And they will not let you through TSA until you show them that you're submitted. And then they let you through. And I watched people panicking because their phones were not working because they couldn't download it. So they were a little freaked out. That's important.
Just be aware, just make sure, you know, the other travel advisors that are on understand that and, you know, look into it.
Look into that. Okay, no.
For their clients. Yeah.
And I am going to suggest that the travel advisors out there to purchase travel insurance for your clients, even if it's not canceled for any reason, because it might be too late to have canceled for any reason. But if you purchase the insurance, and if you do go for a COVID test 2 days prior, and you become, if it says that you are positive, at least you'll be covered. It's not the fear of all of a sudden now you're positive. Yeah. You know, so people should have insurance regardless. We cannot, if people are in our office and they decline it, and which nobody's declining it right now, we have our
Yeah, insurance cannot be an afterthought, especially in the era of COVID now. So thank you guys so much for joining us. How can people reach you? Give a plug for that if anyone wants to contact you and reach out.
Well, listen, you can visit us at TravelSmiths.com. You can also go to our Facebook page, again, TravelSmiths, and also Instagram. And but you can also call us at 732-899-8400. Or you can reach Sally at TravelSmiths.com. Guys, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Thanks for having us on again. I like being the two-time.
Yeah. See, Paul, you're crushing it for us. You're getting these most read articles out there. You're the second ever repeat guest on the podcast alongside Vicky Freed. You're in great company. But you guys always provide such great information and insight for us and our listeners. Thank you again for coming on.